Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books. Welcome to Series Sunday, where I talk about books, TV series, in a series. I am continuing The Whitehaven Hunters by TJ Green. So this is books 2 and 3, which are Shadow's Edge and Dark Star. So, have I got the blurbs for these? Shadow's Edge, book 2. As Shadow and Gabe become more involved with the Orphic Guild, they find out that the occult world is full of intrigue and far more complicated than they realised, especially when it seems that someone wants the same thing that they do, the Trinity of the Seeker. Cause for concern? Absolutely not. If anything, Shadow is more committed than ever, and relishes pitting her wits against an unpredictable enemy. And Gabe? When they find instructions that could enable him to speak to his father, he and the Nephilim are more than ready to fight. Join Shadow, Gabe and Harlan as they race against an occult organisation that is as underhand as they are. And then book 3, Dark Star. A race against time to find a stolen arcane artefact turns out to be far more dangerous than they ever expected. When an arcane artefact is stolen from the Order of the Midnight Sun, Shadow and Gabe are hired to track it down, pitting them against a new enemy. The search leads them across the country and tests their resources and their faith in each other, as Fae and Nephilim discover this world is as tricky as the life they left behind. Harlan, desperate to help, finds himself at war with JD, and suddenly alliances are under pressure. No longer able to trust the Orphic Guild, Harlan is faced with a dilemma that forces him to make choices he never envisaged. So I will say, I think I prefer the Whitehaven Witches over the Whitehaven Hunters. Not to say I'm not enjoying the Whitehaven Hunters, because I am, but I was brought into the Whitehaven Witches because I like stuff about witches. I like the fantasy witch side, and the fact that it brought in stuff about true religious pagan holidays and does a lot based on history is quite interesting. This one definitely goes more down the history and religious route as well. It just doesn't have as much magic in it because you're focusing more on the Nephilim, the angels, and then Shadow as Fae. So you really don't have much in regards to the witches. There are references to the witches because it is all in the same world, but ultimately this is its own story, with Harlan being the mortal, the one without any magic, and he had been brought into this world of Nephilim and Fae and witches. So there are references to the witches as well. There's a moth on my ceiling, and a bee just went face planted into my window. Of course. This is what happens when I sit by the window on a nice day. But yeah, I get kind of Indiana Jones feels from these books. Especially books 2 and 3 involve tombs and things, and so yeah, it's just, I think it's because it's obviously they're looking for these magical items essentially, and yeah, so it gives me elements of things like Indiana Jones and The Mummy and things like that. That's what I'm getting from this side of the story with the Whitehaven Hunters, and I'm not mad about that. I find it quite interesting. I just ultimately prefer the Whitehaven Witches because it's got the witches at the heart of it. This was just a bonus, finding out about these other books in the same universe. But I'm enjoying it. I just prefer the witches over this one. We're seeing the Nephilim come to terms with themselves in modern day and, you know, looking into their own history, which the Orphic Guild is helping them to do. You've got certain brothers who aren't really that fussed about what happened in their history, and others who are just like, actually, I would like to speak to our father, our creator, and find out what the plan was all along, because ultimately they feel a bit betrayed. And with Shadow, she's Fae, and she doesn't really know, you know, she was the only Fae brought over, and so you've got the elements of her wanting to go back home, but at the same time settling in, and she refers to the Nephilim as her brothers, but Gabe, there was a bit of a romance kind of bubbling under the surface for the first 2 books, which has ultimately become a full-on relationship in book 3. And yeah, it's just seeing that relationship, and it's just like she refers to the Nephilim as her brothers, but when it comes to Gabe, she was just like, nah, he's not a brother. Oh no. We're also seeing potential relationships for Harlan as well, which is interesting to see. And in fact, Harlan also has had a bit of an attraction to Shadow as well. So there was a brief moment of a slight hint of a love triangle of two men obsessed with the same woman. Yeah, I am enjoying it, and the fact that it does have those elements of things like The Mummy and Tomb Raider, those kind of stories, like if you're a fan of those, I think you'd actually really enjoy these books, because they do have a similar feel in regards to what they're doing, because they're employed. They are employed by people to find these items, these magical items, and also the relationships with their employers, with the guild itself, and each other. And yeah, like, this would be an interesting film series, like, if they wanted to adapt it. I think it would be interesting to adapt it, because I think it really would market to those films that I've already mentioned. I mean, it's interesting to see where it goes next. I'm trying to keep a little bit more stum on the individual stories, because I feel like it would just go full on spoiler, but I did find it interesting. I think in book 2, because it was so much focused on the Nephilim's story and their creation and the different brothers' opinions on their own history, but they really had to draw on that history to find the items that they were looking for, because it was connected to them. It was connected to the angels, and so that was just a really interesting one. I think of the 3 that I've read so far, book 2 was really, really interesting for me, because we haven't learnt that much about the Nephilim, and it allowed us to really look into that history of the Nephilim and their relationship with their father, the creator, their relationships with each other, and drawing on things that they haven't really looked at about themselves in a very long time. And there was a part of that story that made me think, I have a feeling that's going to stretch over some future stories, because there's a particular angel that they thought was like long gone, and during that search they were just like, oh wait, no, we've had communication from them. So I have a feeling there might be more communication going forward with other brothers that weren't brought back with the battle that happened with the witches in, like, was it book 2 of Whitehaven Witches, when the Nephilim actually turned up? Because originally the Nephilim brought into Whitehaven Witches as complete baddies, killing people and trying to survive, and then they were just like, oh actually no, because they started off killing people, and then they went to animals, and now they've turned on that because they are essentially human at this point. I mean, they're giants because they're angels, and you know, they can mask their wings, but ultimately they present as people now. As people actually see them transform and use their wings and fly, they're just like, oh my god! The next one will be Hunter's Dawn, then Midnight Fire and Immortal Dusk. So that was book 6. I think book 6 was actually the most... Oh, that's all copyright 2023, so there might be another one since book 6 in this series. That says I have 6 of 7 items in the series. So there is a book 7, so I'll wait for that one. With Whitehaven Witches, that says there are 13 items in the series, so there is a book 13 there that I need to get, and I'll sort that out. But then there is also another one, which has already been referenced in the Whitehaven Hunters, which is the Storm Moon Shifters. I want to say it was in book 3, but there has already been a reference to the Storm Moon Shifters. So the fact that it's already laying the groundwork for that makes me think I could technically start Storm Moon Shifters at this point. Because the Storm Moon is like a pub club, and in Whitehaven Hunters they actually go to the pub because there's one of them where shifters are involved, and you find out the difference between just regular shifters, which are basically like people that can transform into like wolves, but then there's also I can't remember what the word was, there was another word for it, for somebody who can transform into multiple different things, which was part of who like the baddie was in that book. But yeah, so it's going down the shifters route, so that's going to be an interesting one to read. It's referred to as the Paranormal Shifter Mystery. And then I think, is that it for those ones? I think it might be. Whew. Anyway, I had a big breakfast, but I feel like I need a cup of tea now to keep me going. So yeah, I'm having a whale of a time over here reading. Got a few audiobooks on the go, which I'm looking forward to. I'm at the theatre tonight, so I'm going to be waiting for Wednesday, which is book 3 in the Frida Klein series. So I have started it, but I think I might start it again because it's been a while. But I'm working Cluedo tonight. Cluedo 2, the play. So I know I want to watch it at some point, but at the same time I also want to really get into this but I could take it with me on a holiday. Do I want to take it on holiday? If I take it on holiday, it might not make it home, and I want to keep the collection together for now. So yeah, I might just stick to what I've got on my phone and my iPad for now. But yeah, I'm really enjoying myself reading. I think I haven't gone through that slump that some people do, but I think it's because I don't try to put any pressure on myself when it comes to reading. I just, like, if I don't want to read one day, that's fine. A lot of the time, I don't actually read that much on my days off, to be honest. When I'm working, I listen to my audiobooks while I'm at work, when I am on my lunch breaks. And I do also do a little bit of, like, a couple of chapters maybe or two, like at the beginning of my lunch break and the end of my lunch break. But my day job is mainly for audiobooks, and the evening job, my second job, is mainly for reading the physical books. But yeah, a lot of the time it'll be on the days that I'm working are the days that I will curl up on the sofa when I've finished and read a load of a book. So I feel like my days off is more for editing and filming. Does that make me a bit of a crazy person? Probably. Bit of workaholic. But I do try to set time aside. So like if I find myself scrolling, I will go, no, I don't need to scroll because I've got a book I can read. Yay! Anyway, so cup of tea time. That was Whitehaven Hunters, books 2 and 3. So that is Shadow's Edge and Dark Star. And as I said, the next ones are Hunter's Dawn, Midnight Fire and Immortal Dusk. So yeah, I can get a start on Hunter's Dawn next. As I said, I'm just having a whale of a time over here. I really am. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I have seen a couple of new subscribers, so hello, thank you so much for joining the club. It's good fun over here. We read a lot of books, not just me. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another video. Mwah. Stay safe, my lovelies. Bye.